So I often get this question is how do we sustainably love ourselves in this movement while trying to stay active in both our physical and mental health? And I think this is something that is really personal to me. I talk a lot about sustainably loving yourself, right? And for me, I define it as creating circular relationships with humans and non-human animals that does not impact the environment in a negative way, and that is rooted in indigenous wisdom, Western science, and our own lived experiences. Now, with that being said, there's been a lot of things that have been happening in my own personal life. Just 4 months ago, I was in a relationship and that ended, and it was a 2-year relationship with my boyfriend. Something that I realized how it affected my work and affected who I was realizing how much he had really influenced a lot in the work I do today, such as being a really great supportive mentor and role in supporting and seeing the growth of my own brand, right? And I think that, receiving a text message to be broken up with is something I would really never wish on anyone to ever experience. And so I was actually in the United Kingdom when he actually texted that he wanted to break up with me. And I was so really sad. I really broke down crying and thinking that really how much of a less person I am in this world. And I think, attempting to really create myself to be a public figure and to be present, to be assertive was really detrimental to myself. There's moments when I was in my UK trip, as you can see in the photos, where, I'm smiling in a lot of the photos, but internally I was going through a lot of internal pain. And something that I realized that coming out of this relationship is the amount of times that people fall out of love. And I think that for me, this relationship showed me that a lot of lessons, that something that I don't think I would have learned in my early 20s. As many of us in the environmental space, I really try to keep personal about certain life experiences that have happened to me, because those experiences are sacred to me and my family or my loved ones. But I think that, sharing my relationship with you all isn't more about me trauma dumping, but rather to really validate the pain and power that happened in my own relationship, right? I think that we often try to normalize that our only work is rooted in environmentalism, which can also cause an identity crisis for some people, where a lot of people in the environmental space can often just know who they are as brands, but they don't know who they are as individuals. And I'm someone who's very deeply sensitive. I am a Leo, and for Leos, as you all know, we're really rooted in loyalty, honesty, and very affection. And so, going through that breakup, I realized how much I had also sacrificed in my inner self, of how much I was giving in this relationship than receiving. And something that I am someone in this work is always giving, and not always receiving and receiving. And so that's not really sustainable to my health. And so when we broke up and I returned back to the United States, obviously his stuff was all gone from the apartment. And I decided to go foraging in the forest. That's something that we both did together. And when I was in the forest, I remember crying to the soil and telling the soil and the earth that what I had gone through and what I was confused of what to do with my pain. And obviously I closed my eyes for a few minutes and just listened to the air, to the water and the ripples, the own critters that were running around the soil. And I realized that when I opened my eyes, there was a hawk in front of me and it was flying above me. And I didn't really know what to do, right? And it circled me 5 times and it landed on a tree branch, and then it looked at me. And I think at that moment, for myself in a spiritual lens, that Earth was trying to communicate with me and telling me that the love for this person has ended, which isn't a fact, but that does not mean the end of life for yourself. And the hawk really got close to me, and then it flew away up above the skies, and it was a cold day and it was very windy. And I was saying, wow, I've never seen, a hawk get that close to me. I've seen hawks, of course, in my own view and whatever, but it also could have been that I was trying to hunt a own critter that was there. But I think it gave me a lot of confirmation and validation to know that you're going to be okay. And I think Earth itself, Mother Earth, was hugging me and telling me that things were going to be okay. And I tell this to my community to continuously talking to earth or talking to concrete, like talk to living things that have minerals that come from the earth, that really understand our own energies, because something that is often disconnected when we lose relationships or we lose a friendship is the lost sense for trusting earth, meaning like the sense that you're never really alone because Mother Earth has always been there for you. So in the past few months, I've been really reflecting a lot about the friendships I've had since I was in college and post-grad, and even relationships I had in college and post-grad, right? My relationship that just ended. And I think that some of the common trends I realized is that, anger, love, sadness, grief, sorrow, like should always coexist, right? I think the phrase like love never dies is something that it is true, right? I think that love is in a sense closed, in the sense that there is closure and acceptance. But I think that my love for people who I've lost in my life, whether it was friends, cousins, or relationships like boyfriends, I realized that that is something that is really sacred to me, and that love won't ever die. I do believe that there are instances where people have been physically abused or really harmed, where they can't really think of the individual in that way. And I think for myself, it's more about we both accepted each other and had our own closure, even though if it was through text, and I think that definitely can be seen as really, but I think accepting myself in that process was a reconnection for me to start to build more stronger relationships with my identity, with my work, with my relationship to earth. So I think for anyone who struggles a lot to grieve or to try to process these relationships when they end, always reminding yourself that these emotions can coexist, right? I think love and anger, they never die. I think they just learn how to coexist and sit in the same chair. That then becomes acceptance, and that idea of letting go, meaning you have to cut this person out of your life and to remove everything of what was known, is very detrimental to my mental health. And I think there's different instances in relationships that we can all conclude, but I think for myself, in this case of my old relationship ending, I realized how good it was for me to not have contact with this person anymore, but to eventually have this slow process where I don't have to feel guilty anymore. I don't have to feel angry at this person, and I can just continue having this final departure that we did love each other. We got to experience love. The moments that I get sad, I will always remember the love we had for each other, but that love will never die, and accepting that is allowing me to become more interdependent in the way that I see species and kinships in these worlds. So I think for me, the next steps of really redeveloping my idea or framework of sustainably living ourselves is rooted also in this idea of shifting individualism to collectivism, because I think it's really easy for a lot of us who end relationships with people that we love to blame ourselves constantly, and I think I don't want to continue doing that, and rather holding myself to really community, to my family, to my best friends that have really supported me through the process. And also going to therapy is something that I've always been an advocate for if you're able to afford those resources in this movement. I often feel that, in our own life's work, and especially on social media, having a presence online, is that we often forget to humanize the individual, right? I think that it's safe to say that, on a regular basis, I go through my own mental health crises, and I do go through moments of doubt in my work, in my own mental health, in my own relationships. And I think that, normalizing that we are human, that we have feelings, that we're going to have breakdowns, that we're going to go through rough patches in life, just makes us stronger and better towards each other. And so really, for myself to push this narrative of sustainably loving ourselves, I've really reckoned with a lot of inner childhood trauma, younger self-doubts, that's something that I didn't really know how to explain to myself when I was younger. And I think nobody tells you that, you're healing your inner child, but you're also healing your inner younger adult self. I'm right now 25, and I'm healing my inner younger 20s when I didn't really have the right words or emotions to truly express how I felt. And now that I'm really older enough to kind of reassess my feelings, my impacts, my relationships with people, it's kind of created this sense of acceptance to myself and sense of hugging my inner self that has been seen on the ground. And I think moments like that have really created these everlasting movements. So if you're someone that is currently dealing with any types of breakups with friends or relationships, just know that you're really not alone in this movement. And I think the best way to create true love and true education and true wealth is through community, is having to be grounded in somewhere in your community. And it's not easy, right? Because a lot of us do live in a movement where isms exist and separate us and divide us and fragment us from achieving that. But there are always people who will always be out there to love you. So I just wanted to send this little heartfelt video to you all, because I know that sometimes we can struggle with trying to articulate our feelings, and just know that I'm also here for you too. So if you really enjoyed this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to know more about my life or other things like that, feel free to leave it in the comments below.